Welcome to the Founders Corner, brought to you by OneBridge Accounting. Here's your host, Eli Clark.
Hey everyone, Eli Clark here, co-founder and CEO of OneBridge Accounting and host of the Founders Corner podcast. Today's guest is Matt Gelgota, the founder of Marketing Roasts. Matt, very excited to have you. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Eli, it's great to be on. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. To get us started, would love for you to introduce yourself and kind of tell us what you guys are doing at Marketing Roasts and just a little bit about what's going on there.
For sure. I'm a fractional CMO and the founder of Marketing Roasts. It's kind of a CRO and copy consultancy that uses behavioral psychology and my many years of marketing experience to diagnose what is killing conversions on web pages, like landing pages, home pages, product pages, and so on.
Awesome. I'm excited to dive into today's discussion about landing pages and just pages in general. I think it's just going to be a lot of fun because there's many improvements that I think a lot of companies can make. So hopefully this is valuable to a lot of people. Can you tell us a little bit about kind of your experience, what brought you to where you are today? I imagine you didn't just burst out starting this, right? Where did you get beginning your start? Yeah.
Right away. So I started out, I'm originally from Detroit. So I started out in PR and event marketing for automotive brands. That's kind of the big industry there. So that's how it all goes. And I ended up getting an opportunity to intern in Japan for Volkswagen and eventually stayed. And so that was, way back in the day before remote work was a thing, before the 4-hour work week or digital nomads or anything like that. So I became an English teacher in order to stay in Japan, gradually transitioned into corporate training. And then after the great Tohoku earthquake in 2011 and the subsequent sort of meltdown at Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plants, I was living at the time about 100 miles away from there. And, family was concerned and, I was not unconcerned. So I thought it might be better to move toward greater Tokyo. And in my search for work at that point, I found a role in Hong Kong, which took me into a whole new area. And eventually was also doing corporate training there, actually for a big Japanese company. And then got into business development and eventually went out on my own as a marketing guy in about 2013. So it's been a while.
Awesome. Well, tell me a little bit about maybe that transition from maybe the corporate space, especially in a foreign work environment like Japan or Hong Kong. What was that transition like? What were some of the challenges going from that to then more freelance or more solopreneur type work?
Yeah, it's something that I'd been thinking about for a long time. I was listening to all the podcasts and reading all the books and kind of following the sort of community of people that were beginning to do this remote work thing from all over the world. And being based in Asia, I had a chance to travel and meet some of these folks and kind of fell into a community in Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam where just things were really happening at the time. And I met some guys who were launching their brands on Kickstarter, and that just blew my mind that there could be, a tiny micro brand that's able to, suddenly raise funds and deliver physical products all over the world, just as a, really tiny company of 2 to 5 employees. So I got into that was my route into e-commerce.
Very cool. Yeah, I've dabbled a little bit on a different side with Kickstarters and things like that. It's definitely an interesting world, crowdfunding in general, right? It's an interesting space to be in.
Absolutely. It's just something I'd never dreamed of back in my school days. So it was pretty interesting to get involved in.
Yeah, it's cool. Well, I think that background gives us a good foundation to work on as we jump into today's main topic, main discussion. For those who are listening, Matt is the roasting guy. Like he roasts landing pages on LinkedIn. You go check out his LinkedIn. We'll put the links in the show notes, and you'll see a ton of the cool stuff that he's doing and helping people to optimize their landing pages. But I wanted to have Matt on the show today to just talk a little bit about how, in general, people can improve their landing pages. Maybe some things to watch out for as they're moving forward. But Matt, I want to start out our discussion, and let's start with the good, and then we can start with the bad, and then we can go to the bad. So, what do you generally see on landing pages that you're like, oh, that's good. That's a good landing page. That's a good practice. Like, what do you usually see, based on your
I'm glad you
experience?
brought that up. I mean, the whole goal is, I'm roasting your page so that your customers don't.
Right.
This is a gentle and a friendly roast, but always constructive. But there are always things that you can find. I think a lot of us are, at a stage where we just have to ship something, and so we end up putting it out there, and maybe it's not your perfect vision of what you wanted, but that ends up being the page on your site for 18 months or whatever it is. So there's always something that I can come along and find. But things that work well. I think it's about structuring your page. A lot of the time, people really are building into their landing pages. They've got the idea of a header section and what it should be. I think I'm seeing a lot more social proof in recent months. That is something that used to be like a huge miss, and there are still a lot of things that you can do with that to make it better. But people seem to be including a lot more of that. And maybe it's just because it's more readily available. The tools to collect it are more readily available. People are more comfortable getting on video themselves or sharing UGC images of their products or of your products with their face attached. So those are some of the wins that I see a lot.
Love it. So structure as far as like good headings, good images, things like that, and then good social proof. So things like testimonials, whether text and video, like both of those are good.
Oh, absolutely. I think in terms of social proof, you want to have as much of it everywhere that you can.
Just all over the website.
Totally. In different modalities as well. So I think there's, a lot of people just kind of put up like a wall of a whole bunch of, quotes or whatever they've got, or sort of a ribbon going across. That's okay. But a lot of the times the writing that people do when they're creating a testimonial for you is not super punchy and easily digested. So one thing that works really well is little social proof bites, kind of almost like a little headline where you're just throwing out one short phrase or sentence rather than 5-sentence paragraph. And always supporting with your image, the stars that they've given you, title or company if that's appropriate, or maybe location if it's a e-commerce thing. Just layering in those trust factors is really the way to do it.
No, I love that. I love that idea of social proof bites, because we make this mistake. Our testimonials are videos, or they're like long form paragraph, and so I love that idea of just like little bites, a little bit of like 3 or 4 or 5 powerful words of like, hey, here's the evidence, right? And it's just a lot easier consumed, right, than a larger piece of testimonial content. That's really cool to see.
Exactly. People are just scanning, when they're going through your site. And the thing about video is like only 7 to 20% of people actually stop and watch. So you're losing a lot if you've only got video. But if you do have, the video is great for people who are moving into that consideration phase and getting more serious. They want to, bear down on it and learn more. That's when you're in depth, your video and your longer testimonials really coming.
I love that. Let's go to the gentle roasting side a little bit. And I know there's a lot we could dive into this, but just as a high level, what do you generally see that are very common mistakes that you see on landing pages?
I think the number one thing, it seems super simple, but it's just clarity. If you don't have clarity, that'll kill your conversions. So if a lot of the time, business owners, founders, we're almost too close to our products. And so, we have an idea of what you're getting from a header section or from a headline that maybe doesn't transfer to what someone who's never visited your site is experiencing. So, the founder thinks everyone knows what we do, but the customer maybe doesn't. In fact, I was looking at a page that I just posted recently on LinkedIn. You've got, your logo up in the upper left corner, and then your navigation across. So we've seen your logo. We know what your brand is. But then the headline was meet the brand name. And that's just a total waste of like the most important pixels on your site. Like I can see your logo. That's totally, so now your headline is totally redundant. And if you're just meeting the brand for the first time, you have no idea about them. So there's nothing to associate with. So literally they've wasted their headline. Then they went into the secondary head, and it was like, happened to be an Audible competitor. So it was like audiobooks, ebooks, and so much more. Generic language, like, and so much more, just delivers nothing at all. So really all they had in their header was audiobooks and ebooks, two nouns that don't give any value, don't describe what the unique aspect of the brand was.
Yeah.
So
Like, are they a publisher? Are they a distributor? Like, what do they do? Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, lead with value, or at least capture attention. I think, but being clear about what the product is crucial.
Clarity. Right. That's so key. I love that. Like, it's so important to, like you say, sometimes we just get so close to it as a founder of whatever it is. It's a product or a service. And we just think, well, of course everybody knows what this is. I remember when we were first starting out at OneBridge, the buzzword in the accounting industry was finance as a service, as like SaaS, but like finance as a service. And I remember I was talking to the client and they're like, what the heck is that? Like, what is finance as a service? Like, what does that even mean? I'm like, oh my gosh, we've been totally messed up, as far as like our messaging and stuff, because we were talking in a way that people didn't understand and we weren't communicating in a way that people got, right? That's just another example of a gentle roast against ourselves, right? Of what doesn't work, right?
Absolutely. That jargon issue really applies to SaaS and services. Maybe more so than e-commerce, but that's 100%. If you're sometimes if you're going with the jargon on a very specific product type and you're speaking directly to your ICP, that's great. But if you're just using words that are vague and maybe an industry term that your customers don't understand, that could be a real problem.
Yeah, it was an issue for us for sure. Going back to the good just slightly, what do you think are like the most, if you had to just pick one element that you see the most commonly on high converting landing pages, what do you think that element would be? Is that just an amazing header? Is that a video that is just well placed? What does that usually look like as far as the single element that you could say you see most commonly on good websites?
Yeah. I think it may not be one single element that you can easily replicate, but it's having the right positioning. Understanding your product market fit, understanding your customer, and really being dialed in on who they are and who you're speaking to. So if you can talk to that very targeted person that you want to sell to, or that is ready to receive your message, that is so much more powerful than just kind of generic terms, vague terms, or trying to appeal to everybody, which is one of the biggest mistakes.
I love that. That's a good point. Positioning is key, right? That you have a very specific ICP, and that's how you win in today's market. Is you say this is who we go after instead of saying we do everything for everybody, right?
Absolutely,
love that.
And there are a lot of ways that you can segment that cleverly. You can. It really depends on the product, but you can sort of build into your page flow. Ways that people qualify themselves, like male or female, is a man or woman's shoes or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
The start is often a qualifier. And then as you go a little further down the page, you can segment again, getting people exactly what they want.
I love that. So that's a great example on the e-commerce side of things. Switching gears a little bit, I know you've got some experience on, I guess, kind of more customer psychology or client psychology coming onto a web page. What role does psychology play when you're looking at a landing page? Like, does that question make sense? Like, what role does the positioning play when it comes to psychology?
I think all of us share habits, and surprising amount of behaviors, I think, are common to all human beings, right? So we all have the same biology. We have very similar psychological triggers that, or levers that can be pulled, I guess, from a marketing standpoint. So you're going to notice things like, in terms of like user experience design or, interface design, you're going to notice, red, the color red comes up right away. And we all kind of share that. And the way your eye is directed, throughout, as you flow throughout the page, is common to everyone. So, is that kind of getting at what you were?
Yeah, yes, and I'm not quite sure what I'm looking for here, but that makes. Let's dive into that a little bit. So we talked about colors a little bit. You mentioned colors, and then you mentioned structure a little bit. If red is, you mentioned red. If red is the color that catches people's eyes, is there a reason like why all brands aren't red? And maybe that's a silly question, but like, do you get what I'm asking? Like, if that's the one that converts so well, why don't we all have red branded colors, right?
It kind of works, but it's also aggressive, I guess. So, I find the psychology side of things interesting. And so blue is the thing that you see all the time. That is a sort of calming, soothing color, gives you high level of trust. Green is also well trusted, apparently. But you might notice like on a site like that has a lot of blue cues, you might see that a button is orange or something that's a little brighter to draw the eye to it. So, the color psychology piece is a fun one when you're thinking about the visuals, for sure.
Yeah, that's interesting. Also, like things like graphics versus pictures, right? Like actual pictures. Have you, in your experience, have you found that there's any conversion connection to using graphics versus pictures or that sort of thing?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the more that you can match it to an actual experience, the better. I guess graphics help to simplify things, and so that's good for clarity, or it can be anyway. If a graphic is really not just a clip art piece or something, but is actually hitting on the point that you're trying to talk about, that is more effective. But also faces and real human images build trust as well. So I think it's kind of important to have both, but to use them strategically in the right locations.
Yeah. So if like you want this section to build more trust, maybe in the hero section, then it would be like maybe an actual image of a human being, right? Versus maybe if you're explaining a concept, then would it be fair that a graphic might be better positioned there?
Yeah. Or, if you're a SaaS product, you could show the actual product itself. Hopefully you've got a good looking interface.
Good screenshots and stuff, right?
Yeah, those can be so powerful. There's something called a friction-free demo, or something I like to call a friction-free demo. It's a big ask to get someone to take a demo or, sign up for a demo at a later date, or even to watch a video. So if you can have things on the site that are leading people through what the product is and what it's like, how it behaves, kind of giving them the experience of it before they, have to do anything. Like if you can totally remove any conversion related activity, you don't even force them to click, but you can show like a very short, like auto playing video of what it looks like to be in the product. That is like a really good way of, getting people to take the next step.
Yeah, that's interesting to do. You call it a friction-free demo. I like that idea because there are many tools that I'll jump on a website for a tool and I'm doing my investigation, right? And it's like book a demo now or book a free trial, and it's like, well, I don't know anything about this product yet or this software yet, and many times you have to opt in before you can get a demo or before you can even see what the software does. So I love that idea of just like seeing something with little investment, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, removing as much friction as possible. So it's like not even one click. Maybe you have to scroll a little bit, but that's really powerful. And
The friction is low. Yeah.
When you're looking at software, that sounds like a half-day commitment to me. If I'm going to buy something that's like a serious piece of software to run the back end of my business on or something like that, I'm going to want to test that. So a trial is a huge commitment when I don't even know what your product does. or, barely know more than the branding.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, like, especially if you're looking at like an enterprise software, practice management software, like those types of things, it's like, well, this is going to run a crucial part of my business. I don't, I need some help or I need some support. Yeah, you got to figure this out, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. You mentioned structure as well. We were talking about colors a little bit, images and things. You mentioned structure. Any sort of do's and don'ts as far as maybe on a home page you've got 3 sections underneath a header, or you've got maybe text to the left and image to the right. Any do's or don'ts from a conversion perspective that you've seen?
Sure. Yeah. I think, and going back to like just the real basics, it's a surprising thing how many people will bury their call to action button or just not have one or have 4 different options instead of one. So like you really, again, on the clarity and simplicity kind of idea, you really just want to have one option for people to choose, maybe 2, like if it's, men's or women's or something like that. But yeah, a binary choice at the most. Try not to overwhelm people with, a listed feature. So like, I think,
Yeah, it makes sense.
you can use time to your advantage, and you don't have to deliver everything in the one header above the fold. I think that is people got this concept of above the fold. We want it to be visible. But you don't have to do it all right there. And you'd have to make choices about planning the structure of the site out. So I think one thing that works well is that templates, a lot of templates now exist that kind of help guide you along. So you don't make they've already kind of pre-populated like what should go in various sections. But yeah, I think a strong headline, a strong subhead, and then a single call to action, probably supported by some sort of graphic. And yeah, that's the start. Immediately, if you can layer in that social proof as well, putting 20,000 customers agree, or like you could do some objection handling under a button. But yeah, there are lots of little tweaks, but honestly, there are a lot of misses on the basics. So
Start there.
Start there, and check your mobile devices as well, because most of your traffic is probably coming through mobile, and a lot of little widgets and things you might add to your site, like a little head top bar that notifies people of free shipping or something like that, might push the screen down in a weird way that obscures your primary CTA button on like certain devices. So yeah, run through those checks before you go live.
Yeah, that's a perfect transition. I wanted to talk about mobile a little bit because I feel like nowadays more and more people are going mobile. Definitely over 50%. And I don't know if this is the case with e-commerce as well, but it's definitely the case for a lot of, I would say, service type businesses, right? Whether you're looking for that service right away, or for us, I know a lot of our traffic is mobile as well. Any suggestions for optimizing on a mobile platform versus a desktop?
Yeah, and actually this applies to both mobile and desktop. One thing that's super useful is having a navigation bar that rides along with the page and has your CTA button right there. So like whether it's sign up or buy now or something like that, especially on a service or SaaS product, like you've got really one product that you're focused on, you can just have that buy now or shop now button up there.
Yeah, so you've got, I guess, the logo on a mobile menu, maybe the menu that you click to open, and then the call to action.
You could even have it like outside of, I think we're on mobile, a lot of times there's a burger menu that you kind of expand. You could have like the burger menu thing and then the button over on the other side.
Yeah, exactly. I think we're talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
So when you click on the burger menu, thanks for telling me what that was called. I couldn't remember. You open that up, and that's the navigation, right, for different pages that you might want to go to, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, having clear navigation is like super important as well. Really through that space.
Yeah, I had a conversation with somebody the other day, and we were talking about websites and optimization a little bit, and they were saying that I'd never heard this before, but like when people are in the internet, they use their lizard brain. Like they're not they're not intelligently thinking. They're not like using reasoning and stuff. They're just thinking about basically nothing, just really basic stuff, right? So when we're when you're building pages and things like that, you want to make it as simple as possible, not make people think while they're on the internet, just like tell them what to do, right?
Absolutely. I mean, who knows where they're scrolling? They might be sitting on their couch watching the most intense part of a movie at the time that browsing your site. So yeah, it's hard to know what else is going on around them.
I love that. Well, I want to ask you a little bit about, and let me know if this is maybe not the direction that we should go in as far as marketing growth go, but do you have any tools or platforms that you recommend for people that are trying to optimize their landing pages or they're trying to test things?
Steal a swig of water there. I think Post Hog is good. It takes a little bit of setup, but that is a tool that is very affordable and gives you heat maps and things like that can really help direct your understanding of what user behavior is like. So that's a good tool for sure. Heat maps, can be found in a lot of different tools, but they can be very effective. I think the advantage of a roast, I guess, is that you're getting somebody who's seen a lot of this stuff in action for a long period of time. So I'm not only am I a second pair of eyes, but I'm an expert second pair of eyes. So I've seen a lot of this stuff in action and how it plays out, and I can give you a quick sort of shortcut to what is the priority and where in terms of impact and cost, what you should prioritize in terms of fixes.
No, I love that. Yeah, leaning into your experience, right, or whoever you have on your team, right, but lean into their experience with optimizing and with what has worked or hasn't worked historically, right?
For sure.
How? Go ahead.
Oh yeah, no. The other thing is there are all kinds of benchmarks, and you can recommend ideas to people, but sometimes the actual way that the customer behaves is going to surprise you. So that's always the case. It makes a ton of sense to A/B test things, especially when they're important. So prioritizing what you test, I think a lot of people just don't have the time or the traffic to be able to have valid tests around every button color, every change to a headline, every change to your navigation, etc. So it's you can have a rule of thumb that guides you, and it makes a lot of sense to try and tighten up your conversions, especially when you're spending $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 a month on ads. But there's no sure thing. So yeah, it always makes sense to test, and I totally am down to go with the data. But there are a lot of things that you can get a long way without having to test everything meticulously.
No, I love that. That's good, solid advice. Like, look at both things, experience and data, and use both data sources, right?
Sometimes attribution is just not clear as well. So you've got to kind of go with your gut and protect your brand as well. I mean, some things that convert might not be the best look for you long term. If you got one of these spinning wheel things that you see on a lot of places, like that feels so Temu to me. That's not.
Yeah,
it's not the image of a premium e-commerce brand. Even if you're getting a higher rate of conversion, you're probably turning off a lot of people that you don't see. So you got to balance that with your brand concerns.
Yeah, that's a really good point as well. Is balancing the branding of the company with what actually is converting. How often should companies revisit their landing pages to think about optimizing or making changes? Like, does the psychology or does the behavior of users change very often, or is it like once you figured it out, just stick with that?
Yeah, that's a great point. I think when it comes to landing pages, especially like when you're running ads, you might be changing things kind of rapidly, and so you want to always create consistency between wherever the user is coming from and where they're ending up. So if you can have a match between what the ad looks like and what your site looks like, that is a lot more welcoming experience than if they click through and they find something unexpected. So that's what causes people to bounce. So sorry, what was the rest of the question there?
Is like once you've nailed down like on a homepage, for example, like these are the things that this heading text works really great, or this video works really great, or whatever. At what point do you say, hey, that's good, we don't need to test anymore, it's enough? Or does the way that users search and the way that they interact with your website, does that change often enough that you need to also change maybe your copy, or you need to change how things are laid out?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think when it comes to, I think that would probably be more product led. Like once you get things dialed in and you feel like confident about the page, and that it seems to not be just leaking conversions, then yeah, you could keep it for pretty significant amount of time, especially probably in the service area. I mostly work with e-commerce and SaaS companies. So whenever for e-com, it's a lot of times people are putting out new products, it's a new season, et cetera. So there's a high degree of return visits to the page. And so giving people something new to look at can be important strategically. But
It feels fresh,
you
right?
want
Yeah.
to, yeah, exactly. So when there are new features released and things like that, that might be a thing you want to announce. But and landing pages, I would definitely make sure that it is consistently changing with the creative, so that it looks like it's always a match in terms of where they're intending to go.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, Matt, this has been an awesome discussion. I think we've been able to dive in really far into talking about what works and some things that don't work, and some ideas across the board as far as landing pages go. If people want to get a hold of you, either they want you to roast their page or they want to check out some of the things that you're doing, where can they find you?
Yeah, I'm at marketingroast.com, and that's where I will give a clear, actionable, easy to follow roast, gentle roast of your landing page, product page, or money pages on your site.
Awesome. Cool.
Oh, of course,
Okay.
you can find me on LinkedIn as well.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll put the links in the show notes to both your LinkedIn and to the website. But go check out Matt, some of the amazing things that he's doing on LinkedIn, and check out his content. He's got a lot of good things there to learn and to level up your game when it comes to the landing page stuff. So, but Matt, it's been great having you on the show. I've really appreciated it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Eli. It was great to have this conversation, and thanks for your insightful questions.
Thank you for joining us in this episode of The Founders Corner, the podcast series for marketing firms and agencies looking to learn and level up their business. You can check out more podcasts and other content from OneBridge Accounting by following the links in the show notes. At OneBridge Accounting, we're all about helping marketing and creative firms organize their finances, maximize their profits, save cash, and automate their accounting and finance functions. Check out our other resources and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.